Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, in the picture that I came across that I downloaded, it says some men work hard like this so their wives can eat like this. And something I found very striking about this was how it humanizes men to a great degree that they don't want their wives to be fornicators and to be adulteresses. And then I realized even more so how adultery ruins society. And when I was doing I'm doing my value series, and one of the recent ones I did was about the value of welders and how a lot of these welders, they work so hard and they're not always around to be their wife's emotional pillow, and that women have to sort of be more self-reliant, handle their neediness, and know how to be a homebody, homemaker, and not to have a work husband or to be tempted to buy a gigolo. A gigolo is a male prostitute. They need to do better. And this also hints at how some people are afraid to marry because their wife will have a life of comfort and then she'll cheat with a man who is more available in terms of time because he's less ambitious, or he is kind of a sloth, or he's just a fox in the hen house, you name it, and he's able to cause more of a fitna to women whose husbands work a lot. And this brought me to how I create a lot of videos to help inspire women to use their time they are allotted with greatness. So to search for knowledge, to explore, to add to their mental archive, to do good deeds by leading by example and using their mind to engage with excellent ideas. But there are tons of modern women who are atheistic or occultists, especially the occultist women, who they have no problem committing adultery. And liberal atheists, they think it's cruel if you were to do stoning for adultery or any type of legal repercussions for adultery. And fascinatingly, but tragically, the red pill men condone adultery. They also brag about cheating. If you recall, Tristan Tate, who says he's Christian, bragged about how he's cheated on hot women. If you go back on the community tab, you should see it. And Myron, a fresh and fit, frequent adulterer, frequent fornicator, stuff like that. His co-host, Walter, got a Chinese escort pregnant and then told her to get an abortion, which she did do. And so it's just cheating, and he had multiple women that he was rotating and paying for intimacy. So the red pill atheists and the red pill religious folk finds ways to be hedonistic and sin and blaspheme against their own faith. And then you also have the no strings marriage people who marry women and then especially reverts and then dump them after 2 years, or just when they get bored they do sort of like a muta marriages and stuff, which is quite sad. And so that adds to the triviality of marriage in their eyes, and marriage loses its specialness, and women forget about how there will be periods of highs and lows within a marriage, and you might be lonely, but you're not allowed to cheat. And you're not supposed to trivialize the pain that adultery causes. And recall the hadith that talked about there will be a lot of women in hell, and part of the reasons is their ingratitude to their husbands. And notice how Islam recognizes that women will be ungrateful to their husbands for their hard labor. And since men are the maintainers of women in Islam, and how, if you recall the hadith in Riyadh Salihin, Volume 1, that if a man calls his wife to bed, even if she's at the oven, she has to stop what she's doing and have relations with her husbands. You can clearly see that Islam acknowledges that men will work hard to provide, they want intimacy and loyalty, and that an adulteress, an ungrateful adulteress, is not valued in Islam, whereas in the occultic realm that links with the feminists, they have no loyalty to men and hate men and only see men as a bank account and something to be used and thrown and disposed of. And this is quite tragic because the men who work our infrastructure, who keep society going, being that lonely, also further shows that there's so much wisdom in the Huri al-Ain in Islam, and that if a man is cursed with an adulterous, witchy wife, that he'll have something better than her in paradise, and that he's told, and that is a good thing. And at first women get jealous of the Huri al-Ain, but how many women, they're not doing right by their husbands. And I often talk about how you can keep your mind busy so that you don't have time to think about adultery. And further, Islam has so much wisdom as well because it tells women not to free mix. If your husband's working as an electrician on a big project, or he's off on an oil rig, some of the pictures they used were trade jobs, and he's got a lot to do, you know? If you're free mixing, you're gonna be more tempted to commit that lust. Okay? And if you're at work, because you're like, hey, I'm bored, I'm gonna get a job, well, then you're gonna have a work husband. And work husbands sneak in real easy because you can't control the handsomeness level of the men you work with. And when you're in close proximity with such a man, your hormones, because your man isn't able to be there enough, you get tempted. Just like that, there's some men who are truck drivers who drive those big semi trucks. They have what they call lot lizard prostitutes, and then they cheat on their wives on the road, and that's heartbreaking. Truly heartbreaking. And so men have to work on that as well. And when some men are deployed, they pay local prostitutes of the countries they visit, and they cheat on their wife, and it's quite horrible. So I fully acknowledge that men also struggle with that sin. But here, let's focus on the necessity for so many Muslim women to give this sort of advice to housewives and potential housewives that, hey, you have to have something to do besides wondering what your husband's doing all day. If you're texting him all day, being annoying, sending him a bunch of reels on Instagram, doing something bizarre, instead of focusing on your garden, your children, knowledge, housekeeping, cooking, gardening, ceramics, soap making, candle making, knitting, sewing, crocheting, painting, drawing, crafting, you name it. There's so many things you can do. You're going to get lost in the sauce. And when you're alone and you're just kind of not using your time well, adultery comes in your brain. It's like when people are home alone, they think, oh, I'm gonna go touch myself, like they go to masturbate. It's a very weird thing that humans do when they're home alone and then they want to do something really gross, and it's like, whoa, find something productive to do. Even taking a nap is better than that. And so it's important for a woman to recognize the pitfalls, and that you most certainly can end up in hell because of your adultery. And imagine if you could get stoned for adultery, the fear would be very high, and you would have to examine and say, is it worth it? Is it worth it to do such a thing? And I would also argue, if you commit adultery, are you prepared for what actually comes from it? Getting kicked out, getting a divorce, losing this ability, ruining your reputation, dealing with the mental angst and the regret. Think about it. And the guy you're cheating with, is he going to take you on, or is he just using you? And then you're going to look like a fool. You left your you cheated on your husband, and you left the loyalty zone, and you cheated on him with a guy who could care less if you live or die. He just wanted to hit it and quit it. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. And then now you lost two men, and you don't have a replacement, and may Allah have mercy on the third guy who goes and gets with you when he finds out what you did. And so keep your mind focused when your man's at work, and be peaceful, and comfort him when he comes home, and solidify your bond. Have a way to connect with him, and figure out the ways in which you can connect with him, so when he's away, you're not tempted to play. You need to be mindful of earning paradise, avoiding sin, and avoiding an STD. Just imagine, you cheat on your husband, you get a gnarly STD, and you can get more than one STD, you know. Or you get pregnant, and then you cuckold him, make him raise a kid that isn't his. Or you birth a child into a dangerous situation where the father isn't there, so he finds out they can murder the child. Or that you get an abortion, and now you've just killed a soul. And so, nothing good comes from adultery. And don't let a liberal, progressive, atheist, or a feminist occultist trivialize it and say, like, there was one stupid cunt on Twitter who was saying, oh, if men have to compete for my affection, so if I'm cheating, that means they have to compete for me, and they have to be alpha and compete for me. And it's like, that's not how men work. That's just not how men works, and that's a childish, ridiculous fantasy example, and it's not something based in reality. Men get horrified and angered when another man has been with a woman, and they're just not the same. A perfect example is Black Mirror. The History of You, I think it was called, was one of my favorite moments kind of in a series, where they have the technology to replay things, and he's replaying it, he's replaying it, he's replaying it, and he just goes south. And that humanizes the men, because too many occultist women like to make women think that men are soulless beings. That because they desire more than one woman, that they are automatically evil. But Islam comes in with the wisdom that you can have up to 4 wives, and it's natural for you, and if you're good, you can get Huri Alain as well. It's a different blessing for men than the women. And a woman is required to do the opposite, to stay chaste with her loyal man, and to not be passed around the block like a blunt. And if these women are feeling lonely, they need to have a type of group to be a part of, a book club, a cooking club, something that is halal and helps them to avoid sin, and stimulates them in a way where it's only going to give them barakah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only going to bring blessings. And if you feel like you're getting ready to cheat, you need to have friends who could talk you out of it. You need to have that willpower. And be mindful of the violence that can come and the financial ruin. And the guy who you may be cheating with, he can totally just be mocking you. He could actually film you and blackmail you. It could be a honey trap. You have to watch out for that as well. There's tons of people who are only interested in you so that they can set you up. They can bring you down. They can give you some blackmail. And so you need to stay on the straight and narrow no matter what. And there will come a time where you and your husband can spend time in old age together after retirement, inshallah. But he's working hard to provide for you, and you're safe and sound. A lot of women wish they could have that. Tons of women are living in refugee camps. You don't think they wish they could have a husband who would provide for them? A lot of men now, they don't want to be providers. They want to go 50-50. They want their woman to work, to wear pants at work, and to dress like a man at work, and to be very masculine, so that they can, relax more and watch OF and be on their couch and do gross things. Like, there's a lot of men who would rather be hedonistic sloths and put their woman to work so that they don't have to pay as much money. But if you have a man out there who's working a hard labor job, who stays sober, who's religious, and then you cheat on him, you're a sinful and you don't deserve much. And so the key point here is to help brothers marry good sisters, and then to have support systems for sisters to stay motivated to stay loyal. Because every man deserves a good wife who he himself is good. If he's a wicked man, why do you deserve a good woman? But good men who do the right thing by doing important jobs deserve to have a wife who will stay chaste and won't cheat on them because she's having an emotional week, or she's bored, or she needs more emotional attention. You have to level up and realize that your husband, he's not your therapist, he's not your psychiatrist, and don't be fooled by the man who's only trying to get in your pants. He's not Romeo. He's just trying to say whatever he can so that he can hit it and quit it. And that type of man who wants to sleep with a married woman is already low quality. If he'll sleep with a married woman, he will sleep with women while he's married. You can't expect fidelity, honesty, and integrity from a man who seeks out married women and expects them to, put out pretty fast. Be careful and be safe. Make sure we pray for the men who are out there working hard, that their wives are staying chaste and loyal. And please, ladies, avoid free mixing. You don't need to go to any type of large gatherings. Watch out. There's educational sayings, I understand, like you have to go to college sometimes, but try to limit as much as possible, and how much you talk to people, and the way you respond to certain things, who you're there with. Make your man feel as safe as possible, and keep your gaze as safe as possible. And talk to people who are trying hard to be loyal to their husbands, and be honest about how you want to be loyal to your husband. Don't follow a lot of these gold diggers will tell you to have more than one. They say that a lot. I listen to their podcasts. I'll have more than one, rotate them, one's buying you this, one's buying you that, and now you're out there sleeping with all these different men and you think you're winning. And then you finally get one hardworking man and he catches you cheating. That's a terrible feeling. You're only spreading pain in this world. And if he doesn't care if you cheat, and you don't care if he cheats, now you're just a bunch of sickos. Be wise and be smarter. And treat your husband with honor, and appreciate his hard work. Be mindful. Allah is swift in accounting, and he's going to watch everything you did. It's a very sad picture, but it does reign true. That so many men will be working hard and their wives will be out cheating on them. May Allah protect us and help our sons to marry good women. For our fathers to be good. For our brothers to be good. And for men to look up to decent women. Make sure you make dua. Let me know what you think. And if you'd like to support my work and read other things that I write about, you can do so by going to my blog, which is www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.